The Stonecarvers Guild podcast is a part of the Stonecarvers Guild organization, which is a fantastic organization. Don't y'all agree?
Oh, yeah, it's great. And it's cheap, too.
It's well worth the price of admission.
It is, for sure. You can find out how to become a general member at stonecarversguild.org. There's a Get Involved section. And I've been a member of the Stonecarvers Guild since its inception. It's been an unbelievable resource as far as the knowledge. How did you describe it, Joel?
Oh, it's a living library of knowledge that the stone carving world otherwise is sort of hard to break into if you are looking around for it. I'm a general member. I'm not a full-time stone carver, but I love it from kind of a hobbyist, part-time perspective, but looking to learn more, and found that through the Stonecarvers Guild, through its forum, and through being able to connect easily with other like-minded folks like Bethany and Matthew.
Yeah. So if you want to be a general member, it's just $40, and you would have access to the resources, which include the forum, and then you can log on and you could ask Matthew questions on the forum.
Or anyone else.
Or anyone else.
And also there's the annual meeting, which I just love because once a year, getting together and sharing stories is an unbelievable experience. And that's something that's also available to general members.
Attend a general meeting or even become a professional member, which has other benefits as well. You just have to go to stonecarversguild.org and click on Get Involved at the top.
Join today.
Welcome to the Stone Carvers Guild podcast. Here you will meet a variety of carvers working throughout North America. Drawing on our collective experience, we seek to share knowledge about this ancient art and to do our part to ensure that stone carving will play an important role in built environments for generations to come. So whether you are an experienced carver, new to the craft, or just curious, put on your safety goggles, open up your mind, and welcome to the workshop.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Stone Carvers Guild podcast. I'm Bethany Lee.
Joel, are you next?
I guess I'm Joel Norwood, and that's Matt Johnson.
I'm Matt Johnson. Hey, everybody. How are you doing?
So we're going to be talking to Myles Schachter. Is that how you say it today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Myles
Yep.
Schachter.
Mm-hmm.
But not, as he says, not like Star Trek. That's Schachter.
Right.
And not spelled at all like that. And Myles also has a Y.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
you're Googling it, it's Myles. And then I do not know how to spell Schachter.
And if you want to follow along, if you're at a computer or have your phone, you want to follow along, you can go to tosculpt.com. That's numeral 2, SCULPT.com. And we're going to be talking about some of the images that are on the website. And Myles is both a sculptor and a supplier of really cool stones. So we're really looking
And
forward
stone
to
tools.
this.
And a wealth
Yes,
of
tools
knowledge.
as well.
And a
Of
wealth
all-
of knowledge.
Like
Yeah.
just the way he just kept rattling off different kinds of stone.
Yeah.
And a city
intricacies.
planner.
Right.
And he's Renaissance man. I
Right.
think that's what we call it,
Yeah.
right? Renaissance man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed, there's a part of it, we won't give away too much here.
Right.
There's a part of it here, he talks about the psychology of stone carving and how, spoiler alert, if you're a stone carver, you're going to live longer. He pretty much
That's right.
guarantees it.
Mhm.
So,
So, yeah. Hopefully you survived to that part of the podcast.
Right.
Matt, how old do you feel? do you feel younger than you are?
25.
Good. That's
Yeah, I'm at that age now when I see myself in the mirror. I'm like, who are you?
So I'm
Get
pretty
outta
sure
here.
that you actually
good-looking, handsome devil.
live
No,
longer if you use hand tools. Also, he didn't say that, but I'm sure that that's
Was
implied.
implied. Yeah.
Yeah.
was implied.
hmm Yeah.
I think it's so funny that this debate is still going. I feel like that maybe I've won the debate, but apparently not. I'll wait until you can see.
Well, my guess is that Myles would not be in my camp. But anyway, we'll just let the listener make their own judgment since we didn't. I mean, we didn't actually get
There's
in.
no winners or losers. There's just
in good
there's
fun.
just the debate.
Right.
But there will be a winner
That
when,
is the victory.
when
Right.
electricity ceases to exist around the world
Mm.
and air cars.
For sure.
Well,
Well,
as long as you're still carving something with something, you're a winner.
We're happy.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I wanted to ask y'all how y'all feel about this format that we've kind of landed on, where we kind of go through the guest's website and kind of discuss. I really like this very much.
Yeah. I love having the visual references.
And I hope that listeners are able to either follow along, but I'm hoping it's not too much based on the visual.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, we're probably jumping between pictures a little less than some others. But
Yeah.
for
That's
all
right.
of these, there's some great sculptures that he's gonna reference that will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, definitely go to two.
Well, it's a visual medium,
.com.
so
It is.
It is. We have to concede that.
yeah.
So anyway, let's get to it. Joel, you're going to load those photographs. We talk a lot about some of the photographs that he sent toward the end of his own sculptures, and hopefully that'll be on the show notes as
And,
well.
yeah.
I think he just said that.
And just a reminder to everybody, if you leave a comment of 5 stars,
Mm-hmm.
we will read it on air here. This has been a while since we've done that,
Ooh.
but I'm re-upping it.
Okay.
Think about that
yeah.
for future episodes, folks.
Absolutely.
As long as we don't have to put an explicit,
We'll put a chisel sound over
we
it.
don't. We can bleep. We can chisel sound out the some of the explicit.
That's right.
stuff.
That's
so nothing to.
Yeah. So rate and review, and you will be famous
Yeah.
internationally with all of our listeners.
All right.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Let's listen to it.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Tough questions. How do we solve problems in the Middle
That's
East?
right. You asked us like to send you some questions, and we're like, oh man,
Oh.
did we ever send you any questions in advance?
No. I sent you some ideas, like how to make pasta with calamari, but whatever we want to talk about today, I'm open.
Well, so just so you know, like the podcast, we've basically been interviewing stone carvers that are members of the guild, and you're our first guest that is. I know you're a stone carver, but you're not in the guild, and you also have a lot of different things going on.
Yes.
Although I think recently a new general member.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
accepted yesterday.
As a general member,
Yes, so I can say I'm a general member.
Fantastic.
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
I'm waiting for my swag.
Hey, I never
Well,
got
actually-
any swag.
I know. I joined like 25 years ago. I still haven't got my swagger, but
That was a topic of discussion during
Yeah,
annual
we need
meeting.
some swag.
That was we need some
Totally.
swag.
It's okay. I've got plenty of swag.
No, we need some. Yeah.
Great. Well, Myles, I have questions. I don't know if we can dive right in, but
can before how do you say your last name?
Schachter,
Schachter. Okay.
right? But I was never in Star Trek. That's Shatner. So,
Schachter. But Schachter.
but you can call me Myles with a Y.
all right.
Bethany, you had a question.
Yeah,
Please.
sorry, Bethany.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we maybe Joel and Matt didn't learn about you this way, but I learned about you from Robin Antar, who we had on a couple of episodes ago,
Mhm.
and she was telling us about all the cool stones she gets from you. And so I went to your website and just took a peek at stuff. So actually, number one, I didn't know that Kansas has limestone. Can you tell us about Kansas limestone?
Sure. Near the middle of the United States used to be a big ocean. And that resulted in lots of life that settled down to the bottom of the sea, and those shells became limestone.
Mm.
So it is actually the same sea that created the Indiana limestone. They're all different, of course. Indiana's a tighter, more oolitic stone, and then we have 3 or 4 different types here as well. One real hard one called tuxedo, and several others. So we have an abundance of stone, and wherever there's lots of carvable stone, there's lots of sculptors, obviously.
Oh. Huh. And so what's the difference between Indiana limestone, Kansas limestone, and Texas limestone?
There are several levels to that, of course, Bethany. So one, for instance, is hardness. So
Okay.
the Indiana is very consistent. Oolitic means that the shells are these little ovoids that are very uniform all throughout. The Kansas limestone, and we have many types, mind you. So the common one is like cottonwood. It's a little bit more sugary. It might have a shell here and there, and it's tan. The color is very nice and fairly reliable. We have a couple others. And Texas generally is very soft, uniform, but very, very soft. So you can get more detail with Kansas limestone over Texas and more detail with Indiana over Kansas.
Okay.
So that's a gross simplification because Texas has one called Luters, which is a gray hard limestone. We have one called Tuxedo, which is gray with little white shells in it. That's very strong and hard that you can get fine detail, but it's the hardness of marble. And Indiana has a couple of varieties like they're buff. So it's not all gray. They have their tan stones as well.
Cool. And are you located near the quarries then? Or like, yes, how did your location come to be? And are you associated with the fact that there is quarries and stuff?
See, which story should I give you here? So first of all, that ocean was big. So there's limestone all over Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, Indiana, Missouri. So it's everywhere. We have quarries here, but we were on the edge of the ocean for a long time. So the ocean came in and then shells got deposited. Then the ocean receded and wind blew in sand, which became flint. And then the ocean came back. So our limestone right here where I am in eastern Kansas, far eastern Kansas, is more striated and less desirable for sculpting. But if you go 2 hours to the west, there are quarries where the ocean was more long-lived, and therefore it built up to 34 inches of solid limestone. And then there's areas in the south near Wichita, near the Oklahoma border, a different kind of limestone called Silverdale, and that was like 40 or more inches and that looks more like cornmeal. Good solid carving stone, very pretty. So there's a variety in all of it. The main reason we have a lot of sculpting here, and we do, is because we're a university town. This is the University of Kansas, and I studied with the sculpture professor here, which is was a great benefit to me to have access to all kinds of sculpting media. And stone is what I like the best.
Did you know as a kid that that's what you wanted to do, or is it something you discovered?
No, I wanted to be a fireman. No, not really. Not really. I grew up in a place called New York City, and my parents took us to the museums all the time. So I had very good exposure to the arts, but I was more an analytic thinker, and so went more in for the sciences. And actually, my degree is in urban planning. So, and I practiced that. I have a master's in that from City University of New York. And then when I came out to Kansas to practice that, I did several jobs. I had several other companies and things. And then this professor was retiring, and he had a big commission, and he was about 70 years old. And I went over and asked him if he wanted an apprentice for free, and he lit up, and I got into sculpting. He had his own foundry. We did a lot of casting. I did my own work. He taught me how to sculpt human form, everything. And then he got me into stone, and that's what I really liked. I just love the stone. The difference, not to belabor it, but in bronze casting, which I have years of experience working in the foundry, it was, to me, 30% creativity and 70% methodology. Making the molds and the waxes and the pouring, and it's all kind of interesting. But I have so many ideas I want to implement. And then when he got me into stone, when my work was done, I put on the wax. So it was more gratification for me to really focus on my creativity rather than on my methodology. That's the
Myles.
first story. Yeah.
There's a line on your website I really love. I think this is a nice part to fit it in. It started with sculpting limestone. Yeah, I'll try some marble. So pretty. Get more marble, more marble. Italian marble leads to the fine alabaster and the best tools. Poof! You're in the supply business. Is that how it went?
It's exactly how it went, like I wrote. And when I looked in my yard, I said, "Oh crap! I got 250,000 pounds of stone." There's one intermediate step there before Italy. There was a company in southern Missouri which made countertops called Carthage Marble, and they ordered from Europe loads of big marble blocks, 30,000-pound blocks. And then in the 1970s, marble went out of favor for countertops. It's actually back in favor now, but everyone went to granite instead, more durable. So they just left the blocks out in the field, which then became the woods, which became covered with poison ivy, and no one even knew it was there. And someone told me about it, so I went down, met the guy who kind of runs that division, and it all looked like limestone because it was all covered with lichen and been there for many years. And I said, well, I have no interest in this. I can get limestone back up in Lawrence, Kansas. So he gave me a hammer. He said, knock a piece off. And underneath was Carrara marble, Portuguese pink marble, Portoro black and gold marble, the most amazing things. And we're talking about a lot. So I loaded up my pickup truck, took it home, and then I came back with my trailer a couple of times. Then I hired a semi-flatbed and did that several times and brought back. And that's when I saw, okay, this is serious now. I have great stone. I went to the workshop in Colorado and I brought some things with me. And it was like Macy's the day after Thanksgiving. People jumped on that trailer and just loved what I had. I was mostly giving it away, actually, but that showed me I should really be supplier. And there wasn't my level of supplier. And then I started going to Italy and developed relationships about 25 years ago. And now I've got the sources so I can get all this amazing material when I go. And they treat me really well in Italy. We could talk about that later, but I feel kind of blessed when I'm there. They put me up, they feed me, and they show me the most amazing stones. And the hardest part is not buying too many containers. It's so tempting.
Wow.
Long story.
Wow. Hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but so I teach workshops, and so I have a lot of people who are just starting to carve. And one of the things that they ask is, well, where do I get stones? And so, of course, we have the Complete Sculptor in New York that I can refer people to. But when I looked on your website, you have lists of the different kinds of stone. But maybe I'm missing something. But okay, so can you walk us through the process of, so let's say that somebody's starting out carving and they're like, I want some cool stone to make something with. They go to your website. How does somebody get a block of something from you?
Okay. And actually, I'm not going to have that great an answer for that right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you the reason why.
Sure.
Because for a beginner, I usually recommend 35, 50 pounds, 100 at the most. 35 because it doesn't move around the table unless they're doing jewelry or something like that. And that's been so popular that even though I have 500,000 pounds of stone, I have very few stones that are small. And so what I'm telling people right now is to go to the Complete Sculptor or go to Art City in Ventura, California. And then I recently learned of Flatlanders who sell stones by the box up in Michigan for smaller stuff. Okay. So really, other than tools, I can certainly help people get the right tools. But as far as the stone is concerned, that's difficult. Plus, the beginner should be working with, as you know, soapstone, steatite, alabaster, limestone. So those stones which are hardness 2 and below on the MOH scale, the MOH scale.
Okay.
That's what I recommend. So I'm not currently at that good a position. When I go to Europe, I can't buy small stones. I'm buying pieces that weigh 2 tons, 4 tons, and bringing them back.
Okay.
So, and I don't have that much small stuff.
So who are the people that you're supplying with? Yeah, like tell us about some of your customers and
Well, I do have
and what they make.
3,800 customers. So,
Wow.
and try to find time to do my own sculpture. But there are a lot of people in the country who are doing larger projects. And when I say larger, 200 pounds is, that's about a little more than a cubic foot, right? So it's not real small, but there are hobbyists. There are people who are trying to ignore the news and find something to do that is meditative. And then there are people who are buying, doing life-size torsos and other things out of the different stones. So we're very busy with things that are 200 pounds and over. Yesterday, we cut up about a ton of stone yesterday, and we have 2 pallets going out today. One's going to Washington and the other one's going to Southern California, out to the desert. So there are a lot of people getting things. Now, I don't want to make this commercial, right? So that's not the purpose of this podcast. But if someone buys a large stone and they want to cut up in pieces, we certainly have the sauce to do that. So an example is the one going to Southern California today is a piece of Italian ice alabaster. It was 644 pounds, and we cut it up into 6 pieces. And then we put it back on the pallet, and that one's wrapped and going out. So, if a group gets together and buys stuff, then cutting's not the problem. It's finding a small piece. So when a person calls and goes, I want a piece, like last week, I want a piece of soft black stone, natural shape, 100 pounds, 50 to 100 pounds. That's just that criteria just doesn't make it for us.
Got it.
But I know the Complete Sculptor advertises, it shows a lot of smaller stones.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. We don't mind. I don't mind sending business to my competition, quote competition.
Should we note that we're not sponsored by any of these?
Yeah.
So we're open to sponsorship.
That's okay. That's okay. But I do try to help everybody. I spend probably an hour and a half a day just giving advice. Maybe I shouldn't say that during a podcast.
Yeah, you could be.
And I am working my 12 hours a day because of that. But we're stone sculptors are the best sharing artists I've ever met. There's no secrets. Everyone shares ideas. People are happy to help each other. And I like being in that community. And I find that when I go to a workshop, that it's just a very good atmosphere. And I want to be a positive part of that. So like helping people, even if they don't get stone from me. So it's good.
And like the advertisement aspect of this is actually totally fine in the sense that part of the reason that this podcast exists is like this is to help people connect in the sort of niche but disparate stone carving community. So like we want to know what you do and what you're able to offer, and we want to know all the things.
We all want to share.
We
all want to share. And I get all these questions that I'm doing a fireplace around, or I've got this real complicated issue. How do I get in there and get this piece done? Or, we're all doing different things, but it's, I learn. I mean, I want to learn. I want to learn 3 new things a day. That's my goal. And so people call me with questions and you work through it and you realize, hey, I got something out of that. That's pretty neat.
I'm just curious. And I think I know the answer, but do you mill the stone, or are you simply supplying it? How would you describe it?
Mill isn't the right word. We're not fabricators.
You're not fabricating.
So if someone calls me and says, I want to do a turtle, which they do all the time, but I want a stone that's round, it's got to be flat in the bottom, and then usually they want it to be green with red stripes or something. We don't do that. We can supply, we'll look at what we have. I say, I can cut off this corner. Right. You can make it round. So we do saw. I mean, we saw a lot. So like I said, yesterday, we spent all day cutting up stones.
So you'll saw to dimension.
Rough.
Within reason.
And what I have, too.
Yeah, right.
So if I have stones, right now, my Carrara supply, I've got a lot of it, but it's mostly more irregular shapes. So as an example, yesterday, a guy wanted to do a bison, about 18 inches long, and I found a piece, and I realized that if I cut off 2 ends of it, it's bison-esque. And so we did that, and now we have a piece that's 250 pounds. He can make a bison out of Carrara marble. So we'll shape somewhat like the piece of alabaster that was cut into 6 pieces. He sent me a picture of how he wanted it cut, and there's no sweat. We don't mind. We don't charge a lot for cutting. So I don't mind getting that done if the piece lends itself to it. And I don't end up with a bunch of garbage, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To answer your question, Matthew?
It did. Do you split the stone or do you cut it with the saw? Or do you go out there with a fifth? You cut it with a saw?
No. Yes.
Oh, yes and
So-
yes.
Yes.
So you do split it.
Today, I'll give you an example. Today, we have a block of Calicata viola. It's a white Carrara with purple stripes. Stunning. The block started as 8,000 pounds. And I got that recently. That was my most recent shipment. So, and I go there and pick it out. And there were cracks in it. So the first thing we did was we drilled those cracks and we split out those odd pieces and was selling off those odd pieces. Now what's left is about 6,000 pounds. And a woman last week bought about 3,000 pounds of that. So what we're going to do today is I've determined the bedding plane. We're going to drill the top of it with a lot of drill holes. Then we're going to use our saw. I'll tell you about the saw we use. We're going to cut all the way around this big block, cut the 3 sides, flip it. It weighs 6,000 pounds. And then we're going to cut the bottom. Then we'll put feathers and wedges in the drill holes, realizing that we've cut deep into the stone and split off our piece. And the saw we use is called a ring saw. Not many people have seen this. It's very expensive. It's not a hobbyist item. Like $4,000 for the saw, and then you get them on a power pack. But it's a saw that has no center arbor. So it's a 14-inch ring that cuts 10 inches deep. So we can cut the stone, which is about 36 by 26 inches. And we're going to be able to cut 20, we'll cut it all the way around. So we'll cut 20 inches into the stone all the way around, and then have those one side with the feathers and wedges. And I'm hopeful that will get a nice clean cut on the bedding plane. So for her.
How does a ring saw work? I'm looking at a picture of it. It seems
It
magical.
has 2 rollers. So there's a roller toward the top and a roller toward the bottom. And then behind the roller is in a groove on the blade. And then behind the blade, there's a sort of another roller that's just holding it onto the roller with the ring. So the 2 rollers spin, and that spins the blade. Kind of high maintenance.
Yeah, it seems like wow, it's kind of amazing that it spins it with enough force to cut it.
Is an amazing saw. And so we use it all day long, and we have 2 of them, and they do break. And it so happens today, after this podcast, I have to go to Husqvarna. They're in North American headquarters, is 45 minutes from me. So I'm going to go there today and pick up one of the broken ones. Well, hopefully fixed ones, and bring it back. Lubrication and cleaning and lubrication every day, and a couple of spare parts, but it's complicated, but boy, cutting 10 inches down.
Yeah, no, that's with something that's handheld. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Huh. I would say I need to get one, but I just saw the sticker price. I decided I don't need one.
That's it. The power pack is $10,000. So it's,
that's a Christmas present there.
For us, of course, it pays, but I thought about getting you've seen these commercial like countertop places where they have a bridge saw or a big wire saw that comes down.
Yeah, right.
And I even have one built for me, but it's just not, they're really made to operate 12 foot wide with blocks that weigh 20,000 pounds. And for what we do on the smaller scale, they just don't really pay.
I guess it would make sense if you were making uniform dimensions.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really make sense to have one of those if you're cutting, each piece is different. That's right. And then when people call me and they go, well, I need a piece that's 17 3/4 inch by 22 1/8. And I go, I'm going to send you a picture of what we cut with, And our cuts are very generalized. We're not in the precision cutting. Like I said, we're not fabricators. So we're just providing blocks for people to work with, close as we can to their needed dimensions. So,
with what we do, it's just a different purpose than someone, like you say, trying to do repetitive pieces for balustrades or countertops or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What is the process of like discovering stones? So of course there's the the Carrara marble that that people know about, but how do you discover new stones? What's that process like?
I mean, not in the quarry, but going to places and finding
Just
stuff.
finding out about them and going and looking and seeing if this is something that can be worked with, and just the whole research process.
Sure. I have many good stories.
Awesome.
If you get in a car that has four-wheel drive, you can drive through the arroyos of Arizona and find downstream from old quarries, you can find marble that's washed down into the arroyos. I used to do that. I take them back, and of course you got to put a chisel to it and see how hard it is, and are there cracks in it? And of course you had to be able to lift it into the pickup truck, right?
Right.
So, that's the primitive way, and it's fun, but most of the stones have faults. They're not tried and true. So,
And it would seem like even if you found a really great piece of stone, you've only found one.
that's correct. That's correct. So, being a prospector doesn't really work for me, of course, on the commercial level, or for my own work either. So mostly I go to quarries, and I went to several places in America. We have a limited selection. We have good stuff, but it's not the quality of some things you can find around the world. So like black marble, Ireland, Belgium, just real high quality. You need to get the stone. I need to get it, and I have a chisel and hammer and see how it works. And first you have to make sure that it is marble. So you do the acid test, which you may know about.
I don't. What's that?
Me neither, yeah.
So the words acid test, translated, is from the Greeks. And they would put acid onto stones, and if they fizzled, they were calcium-based and marble. If they did not, they were more silica-based material. And we can do the same thing. So if you take the pool cleaner, muriatic acid, it's 10% hydrochloric, don't want to get it on you or breathe it in, you put a few drops on
And I also just want to say, don't ever use it to clean stone, because some people do.
Yes.
And it's a disaster. So if you're listening, don't ever clean your stone with muriatic acid. But you
People
can
do
test
that a
it.
lot. People do that a lot with like the honeycomb calcite.
It's sad when they do.
And one guy, he was making more like wine racks and things. He actually had a 55-gallon drum of muriatic acid.
Oh.
He would fabricate his piece, and then dunk it with a chain into the muriatic acid. That was interesting.
Just
Anyway,
okay. Yeah, sorry.
but I could put a few drops on a stone and see whether it's a marble. So that's the first test. Make sure it's a marble. Alabaster doesn't do that, but alabaster comes from a limited number of places where you know what it is. And then it's a matter of checking for, is it extensive bedding plane? Is it going to fall apart? There are cracks in it, and then how hard it is by just applying your chisel to it. So doing a variety of tests, and I have bought a lot of lemons that I bought one whole pallet of stone and then started cutting it to sell, and then found these little white strands in it. You know what that was?
Asbestos?
Fraction.
Right.
Oh,
That's right, Bethany.
Oh, it
And
was asbestos. Okay.
dug a hole and buried the whole sucker in the hole. Because I won't sell anything that's got poison in it, of course. Because you don't want to kill your customers. That's not a good thing.
Not
So
right away.
I bought a stone in Italy a long time ago that turned out to be old and what they call burnt. So it must have been out of the ground for 1,000 years. Looked pretty. When I got it back, it just was crap. Or one of the stories. So I was in Italy. I'll try to make this short. I was in Italy. This is probably 8 years ago. And I was looking for Belgian black, which is considered the premium black marble. And it was very expensive. I mean, like $8 a pound wholesale, So I said, that's not going to happen. As I'm coming back, my phone rings. I forgot that I had it on. A guy in Oregon said, I have a whole bunch of Belgian black. I've got to get it out of here. Could you come here right away and buy it? Everyone tells me, and he had other stuff too, a lot, like several 100,000 pounds of stone. And I went there and I saw a few cracks in the Belgium, but I did not do my due diligence. In this case, what I should have done is sprayed the stone with water. The surface would have dried up and the cracks stay wet longer.
Wow.
So I would have seen the many, many cracks in it. And I bought it and trucked it back to Kansas. And as we picked it up off the truck, it imploded into thousands of pieces. Wow. So it must have been dropped or something happened to it somewhere. And I saw 2 cracks. There were thousands of cracks.
And this was a single block of stone. How big was this block?
It was actually like four blocks that were probably a ton each.
Oh, wow.
And so that was disheartening. It turned out that I sold them to the Zuni trading post and they became fetishes. So at a very low price, little sculptures, little bison sculptures and things. And I saw at very low cost, just also to help out the trading post. So, everything has a home, but you have to do tests and you have to be ready to accept some failures as well here and there. It's nature, so you don't know where those cracks could be. And I've worked pieces where myself, I'm sure you have too, where you're working it and you get to a point, you go, uh-oh, where'd that come from? That crack or that big piece of hard stone in the middle of it.
Right.
And then you have to be creative of how you solve the problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, I usually discover the soft spots by diving into them. And then...
super glue.
That's right.
Just, actually as a sculptor and when I teach and people tell me I discovered a fault or something broke, my response is usually congratulations.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Because now you have to be creative in what you do next.
Right.
Maybe you take it apart and put a different stone between it and put it back together again with pins and glue, and it becomes more interesting. And you never know what comes up next. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you a story, okay?
Please.
So I had a piece of black stone with red veins from France called Beaujardin. And I was doing an Inca woman with a canoe on her head. Very abstract. I really liked my concept. And I started working on it, and it was, quite frankly, became real boring. I didn't like it at all. And I put it by the side of my desk in the studio and then had a workshop. Totally my fault. Someone kicked it. I broke it into 3 pieces. Black is very fragile. Black is brittle because of the carbon that makes it black. So the sculpture broke in 3 pieces, and I said, they were very apologetic. I said, don't worry. I didn't like it anyway. And then a couple of weeks later went by, and I said, if I put it back together with pins and glue, and then I route out the crack lines with a Dremel, and then replicate it. So one arm came off. So I did that one, and then I went to the other arm and made a groove so it'd be symmetric, and the other parts. And then while I was at it, I put this thing is 18 inches tall, by the way. And then I put a amulet in front of her, like a necklace. And then I crushed red travertine and mixed up black epoxy. So I put the travertine in all those spaces in the black. So the black complemented the stone. And then I ground it all down. And then I really liked my piece. Then I finished the canoe in a pink marble. So it's black woman, very abstract Incan with a canoe on her head. It's called portage. And that person did me the greatest favor by kicking that sculpture over. And that's why I say congratulations to people, because there's something good that's going to happen from your fault. You just have to not be discouraged. Because I have seen people get discouraged after that happens. One guy took a sledgehammer and smashed his sculpture up because a piece broke off.
Was his name Michelangelo?
No. It was actually a guy from India who was sculpting here in America. And people told him, don't use any more air hammers. You're at a fragile point. Don't do it. And he wouldn't listen. And then a piece fell off. And it was absolutely salvageable into something more creative. And he had a problem, emotional problem, and smashed it and threw it in the river. And so, to the contrary, I say have patience, step back, look at it, and you may have something great. You may incorporate a different material. There's all kinds of things you can do to make things, to salvage it and get something, like in my case, I thought much, much better.
Building off that advice, in your role as a supplier, but also sculptor, you see a lot of probably different, beginning to end, from natural stone to the final product. Do you see any pieces of advice that you would love to just disseminate to beginners and veteran stone carvers alike? And if you do, have at it. I'm listening. Tell me what not to do or what to do.
Broad question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are so many things to say. So building on what we talked about before is there's a great book. It's called Art and Fear, small book. And in it, it's two different artists who wrote the book. And they talk about how don't deliberate too much. Get into your work. So the first thing is when we have work, we do workshops, big workshops once a year. And we do a workshop and I see the beginners. We had 8 beginners at this last one. And they're staring at their stone. I tell the instructors, after 2 hours, that's it. You go over with a pitching tool and you break off one. The instructors are not allowed to sculpt their pieces. So I said, go over and break off one big piece on their sculpture and then give them the pitching tool and make them start breaking stuff off. And all of a sudden they light up, all of a sudden the piece is starting to form. They're not afraid. So I always tell them if something happens to the stone, we'll give you another stone. That's not a problem. So the first lesson is don't hesitate too much. Draw what you want to do and start roughing out and things will come to you. And then the second part of that is we all have the mid-sculpture depression, hump, where, if it's a week-long sculpting workshop, you rough out the first 2-3 days and you look at it and I always go, what am I thinking? What a piece of garbage. I didn't have a good idea in the first place. And so the other thing to do is to look at some way of bringing a feature out. It may be premature to start finishing an area, but there may be a really nice S-curve in there, or bring out where the nose is or something on your piece, even though it's just barely roughed out, to get anchored again back in your piece. So we're not discouraged. And I know I've found that if I'm looking at it, I'm going, I didn't know what I was thinking, but there is this nice line. I'm going to work that line, even though it may be a little early. I'm going to work that line. And all of a sudden I get excited about it. So it's about getting re-enthused about your work and don't give up on your ideas. That's the other message. I teach one class called The Psychology of Stone Sculpting. And it's interesting how our brains work, and stone sculpting is one of the best cures, best methods of longevity. It's a proven fact that stone sculptors live longer and stave off dementia longer.
Wow.
And the reason is, there's several reasons, but I'll tell you what it is briefly, is that, they found recently, and they've been doing more MRIs and testing of this, when you learn new things, your brain actually develops new neural paths. And you may still have the plaque buildup or whatever is causing dementia, which we don't know exactly, but they find that people are learning new things, Sudoku, playing an instrument, learning Chinese, have better memory and stave off, as I say, dementia. If you do Sudoku, your neural paths grow, but if you keep doing it, you learn the methodology and it stops and it starts decreasing. It's actually the dendrites of the brain, which is the receiving roots of a cell, a brain cell. That's what's expanding. And if you do Sudoku over and over again, well, it starts shrinking again. So the starting learning something new is like feeding Miracle Grow into your brain cells, and then they retreat back again. So what do? We're solving problems of a different type constantly as we're sculpting our piece. What tool should I use? How am I going to get that curve? Why is this thing soft? Why is this part soft, and how do I fix it? So we're solving, can I get the nose in here? What should the eyes be like? How should this curve be? How can I get the hole in the middle from doing my Mobius strip? So we're solving problems. The other things they find is that exercise is good for the brain because we're getting more blood flow and it's giving more nutrients to the brain. So what are we doing? We're moving around a lot. And that's why we all have good futures. And I know a lot of sculptors. I have clients that are 96 years old who are sculpting stone. And they're sharp, and I can talk to them because of these characteristics. So keep it up. Everybody keep it up. You're on hell.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
That was very encouraging. Yeah.
can you tell us, like, looking at your website, the thing that I feel really excited about in talking to you is that well, like when Robin Antar was talking about getting different stones from you, I forget which ones she mentioned, but she said you would come up with really cool things for her. And I feel like in the stone carving world, we don't, I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, but we don't focus so much on the properties of the stone, like the color a lot. That oftentimes stone is treated a bit more like a neutral material. And I was wondering if you could tell us, like, what kinds of sculpture are appropriate, or like what kinds of stones that you sell are conducive to different kinds of stone. Like, for instance, I'm looking at your website and there's the Persian red travertine by Cody Vance that's on here.
Yes.
And it's such a unique form. And can you tell it? Sorry, this is a long question. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, matching up the stone
I
to
understand.
the kind of project? Yeah.
There's two parts to that, Bethany. One is we're concerned about the appropriate strength or physical characteristics of the material.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part is the aesthetics of the material for what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
So if someone says, I want to do a portrait of my nephew, grandson, you don't want a stone that has 12 colors and all this stuff going swirling around.
Mm-hmm.
So like Rojo Balboa, which is brick red with all these swirls around it, would not be appropriate and you wouldn't be happy about it.
Mm.
So that's an aesthetic issue about how busy it is, or if someone wants it to be, they want to do a feature that's really alive, with color, or they want direction in the veining. Well, those are all characteristics to look at. The second part is the physical characteristics of the stone. So if someone says they want to do a ballerina on one toe,
Mm-hmm.
if that's the case, you don't want to use a Persian onyx or honeycomb calcite. Don't want to use a stone that's real brittle, obviously, because it will never survive that kind of structure, or an arm coming out. So like there, for instance, Carrara marble is one of the best. It's one of the tightest marbles and holds together and can do fine work with it, as an example. So it's a matter of working with a person and understanding what they want to accomplish. Because people will call and they'll say, I want to get this kind of stone and I want to do the ballerina. And I go, it's not going to make it. I'm just telling you. And so, I mean, you could drill a hole up and put a steel metal in there, or an example would be a beginner we talked about earlier, and small stones. So beginners often will call and say, I want to do a black sculpture. Can I buy some Belgian black or Irish black? And I go, that's really hard and really brittle and not for a beginner. However, you may think about Virginia steatite, which is a type of soapstone, which is very dark, and that's more likely a hardness you can work with. And then they've got a solution for what they want to do. You just have to vary a little bit. Matter of fact, just yesterday, someone sent me a picture of a black stone. They said, I want this. I love it. I'm in love with this stone. You tell me what it is and where I can get it. Basalt. It was polished basalt from the Northwest, the kind that's basically glass. I've done it. I've worked it. Boy, that's a challenge. And this is a beginner who wants to work with air hammers. And I said, you're never going to be able to do it. Here's 2 sources for it, but you're never going to be able to do it, being honest about it, So you have to fit what you want to do and how it's going to come out. And sometimes you want busyness in a stone, and sometimes you don't mind a piece breaking off because that's what you want the arms to be Venus de Milo, off. So it's a matter of matching, and it's fun.
So
It's
for,
fun to do
for your
that.
own work,
Puzzle.
when you're just doing for your own work, if you just have a blank slate, do you start with the stone or do you start with the concept?
Concept.
Okay.
It hits me like a sledgehammer.
Mm.
So here's an example. I have a brand new sculpture. I sent you pictures of a flamenco dancer that I don't know if you guys got it, but I sent it last week. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I bought a 30,000-pound block of Carrara marble mostly for people that wanted it. And there was one triangular piece. And when I say triangular, if you can picture a piece of pizza pie, 7 feet tall. So it's this triangle that just goes all the way up.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm never going to be able to sell this. I'll probably have to cut it up into 3 pieces and sell it as chunks. Put a sling on, a strap on it, picked it up and put it up against the wall. It weighs about 3,000 pounds. Put it up against the wall, just get it out of the way. Before we took the strap off, while I'm sitting on the skid steer, it hit me, just hit me. It's a flamenco dancer. She's a flamenco dancer. There's her robe, her skirt in the front, at the point of the pizza piece, at the point. I said, I just saw it. I said, I've got to make her into a flamenco dancer. And a year later, I installed the flamenco dancer. And I also pictured that her hat and her fan would be bronze. And so it'd be multimedia. And I installed that in our downtown last month. So,
and do you do the bronze too?
I don't cast the bronze because I said that's mechanical and I don't have time for that. So I did the waxes, and then I gave that to the foundry. We have a foundry here that was an offshoot of my professor. So we have a good art foundry, and I gave them the waxes, and then they produced the bronzes.
And do you give them a wax that's to scale? I mean, it's full scale wax.
Full scale wax. Yeah, I did the hat. The hat I fabricated in the wax, and then the fan I made a mold. I made a model, and then did a rubber mold and the wax for it. Give that to them.
And between the stone and the hat and the fan, is there some sort of barrier there, or is that not an issue?
I'm worried about vandalism, so I want to get that hat and fan as embedded in those stones as possible. So the hat has a stainless steel rod, 5/8 inch in diameter, inside the middle of the hat that goes down about 8 inches.
So all the way into the neck, or just into the head?
Bottom of into the back of the skull.
Okay.
And the fan has 3 pins in it, threaded rod that are 1/2 inch diameter and about 4 to 6 inches long. It takes a lot of fiddling with, but I got 3 holes in the stone, and these are all epoxied in. So I set the sculpture in the downtown. Then I went back with a ladder and epoxy, knife grade, and attached the two objects, the two bronze objects, into the sculpture. And it's been there a month, and no one's heard it yet. So you've got to make sure you think about those things that, like, for instance, you doing a sculpture with a hand sticking out in our downtown would be dangerous, or any place, because we have what's called drunken students. You ever hear of those? So they could be malicious, and so we want to think about those things.
Is the shoe bronze as well?
Yes, it is. So there's, what happened actually. See, here's the thing about finding problems. So we did the pin, you set it up temporary on a block to work certain areas. Some of it's lying down, some of it's standing up. So we stood it up with a big pin. I'm talking about 1.5 inch diameter stainless steel pin. And it was obvious leaning backward. The pin wasn't centered in the center of mass. So I thought, this is where, again, finding the solution may be caused by the problem, and it's a better solution, better than the original problem. So I thought, I could cast a stiletto and use that as the back pin, because the gown comes down to the ground on one side, but it's up on the other. So I went to Goodwill and I bought a stiletto.
Uh-huh.
And then I had the foundry cast the stiletto. Well, actually, I made a wax of it. I made a mold, made a wax of it, and then they cast stiletto, and then they welded on a pin on the top of the stiletto and a pin on the bottom of the shoe of the sole, and that became the rear pin of the
great.
sculpture. So if you go around it, you see this red. Everything is in like bright red, right? I mean, the sculpture, the stone is Carrara, but the rest is red. And so you have this shoe that's just peeking out there at the bottom. And it was a nice touch, and it solved the problem of balance, and now it's stable.
All right.
So your sculptures that you sent us, they incorporate using multiple stones in the same sculpture. Can you tell us something about the process of
Sure.
how do you do that? How do you join stones and work with all of them in the same form?
Sure. So there is a sculptor at the Jemez Pueblo in New Mexico, Cliff Frawa, who teaches at my workshops, who's a master at lamination, putting stuff together. So he did teach me a lot over at my workshops over the years. So I take stones and I get them, before I sculpt anything, I get them perfectly flat. And that takes patience. So on a small scale, you could rub it on a cinder block or a sidewalk. At the scale I'm working in, I use a grinding wheel, diamond grinding wheel, and a ruler. And we just grind and pull the ruler over and find the high spots. So finally to get it flat. And then we put it together with pins. Even if it's a large piece, you cannot just use glue. And this is a technique issue, a methodology question. Some people think you can just glue two pieces together, but it's not a very good solution because the next level of crystals could break off. So when I didn't know, I did a honeycomb calcite sculpture and it broke because I did something dumb. I just glued it back together. Well, it broke again. The glue line was fine, but the next layer of crystals were there. I glued it another time. The finally I realized this is not going to work. You got to put a pin in it, and that keeps it from rattling and breaking that next layer of crystals. So even though my sculptures may be large, so the individual pieces might weigh 500, 800 pounds, I still put a stainless steel pin between them. So you have to determine where the sculpture is going to be. So the pin should be in the middle where it's not going to be, you're not going to hit it, which I have on occasion hit the pin in my sculpture. And then when I put them all together, then I've got a block of stone I can carve. And then I start carving the head or the hands or whatever it is. And my theme is diversity. So having multiple colored stones kind of fits in with my theme. I'm not supposed to say that, actually. That's a
So
dirty
you
word,
laminate
right?
them first and then you carve them.
That's correct. Sorry to give you that long
Interesting.
answer, but
No. That's perfect. That's perfect.
So I have. Go ahead.
Oh, I was.
So when you're
like
when you're doing that, they're laminated and then you're carving them. How do you keep the edges as you transition from one material to the next? Because it doesn't look like, I'm looking at American, which is beautiful. I love this piece.
Thank you.
And it doesn't look like there's any material between. It looks like there's little tiny air gaps between the stones.
Well, I mentioned initially, I'm trying to make things perfectly flat. So it's the flatter I get it, the more likely I'm not going to have any real significant lines between the pieces.
Uh-huh.
And I'm testing them constantly. I mean, it took over a year to do it, as well as doing my business, of course. But take it off, work on it, put it together. There's a high spot. And sometimes you can hollow out the middle of the stone a little bit if you're sure it's not going to be part of the sculpture, so that you don't have to worry about the middle of it not touching each other. But it's patience, lots of patience to get it down. And then putting on knife grade epoxy to put it all together. And if you go to the real piece close up, you could see some lines between them, but not significant. And that's true with the other one, the big hand one. I also did one that has 4 stones, and I got them really close so that you could hardly see the lines.
Is the epoxy black on America?
No, it was just regular.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is like, okay, if you look at there's a photograph that you sent, and you can see on her left cheek, like as it goes back, there's a gap between the two, between the bottom, the bottom material, and then when it changes around her eye. And I'm just curious, how do you keep from like having that edge totally get torn or breaking unpredictably as you're, because it looks like there's no epoxy right there.
Oh, between the two stones.
Yeah, between the two stones,
Yeah.
you're changing you're changing your grain. You're also changing the I assume the density of the stone. So it just is this done with a chisel or is this?
I use all tools, but
Uh-huh.
getting down to that level, you're using grinders,
Okay.
like Dremels and small tools.
Yeah.
Um,
Really cool.
there is I'm giving plugs for different people here. There's a sculptor, Al Brown. Al Brown is in Detroit, Lake Orion, and he is, to me, the finest detail sculptor in the country. And I was working on that sculpture and the face and everything and the eyes and struggling. And then he showed me, as well as other people at a class, how to use the Dremel with little 1/8 inch carbide burrs. And with that, he can do anything. He can make small hair butterflies, the expression on the corners of the lips, And I started using that for doing those features on that sculpture. And I said, oh, okay, this is not going to destroy anything. It's very delicate, and things hold together. So works.
Boy, his work is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website.
Really nice guy. And he does amazing work. And he also incorporates a lot of bronze with his white marble sculptures.
Mm.
To answer your question.
Yes.
So incorporating all this together. So in our downtown, I've got 3 sculptures on 3 corners of an intersection. And diversity, again, is kind of my theme. And so an idea came to me, like one of those hit in the head, with a hammer. I think I want to do like a totem pole of 5 women's heads. Nobody take my idea now. It's my idea. And these ideas usually come to me in like a flash, So I thought each head could be diagonal in different stones and put it together and make it so it's on a pedestal 9 feet tall. And the name came together. The name is Together Better or Better Together, one or the other. And then I'm deciding whether or not to put a tier on each side. The heads are turned horizontally, so they turn their side. They're stacked up. It's 5 women's heads, 18 inches wide each, so it's pretty big. And whether I want to, but the idea, I looked around and found the stones in my place. The name came to me very quickly, minutes. And when that happens, I know I've got to do this sculpture. I'm excited about getting that. That'll be my last one for downtown Lawrence. It'll be my 4th corner. So
these 3 sculptures that you sent to us are all on the same intersection?
Yes, at our main intersection here downtown.
Do you mind just saying what that intersection is? Because I feel like I'm going to make a little pilgrimage there.
You should, and stop by my place so I can show you around. 8th and Mass, 8th Street and Massachusetts Street.
8th and Mass, okay.
Yes, our
Cool.
streets are named after states, and the city is one of those ones where they commission you to put it up for a year. And I told them I don't sell my stuff, so I want to leave it here. And so the woman, it's called American because she has different ethnic features.
Right.
She's got an African headband. She's got Asian eyes and so on. And so that's been up since before the pandemic. And the large hand called We Are One has been up for 2 years. And then this new one just went up. I had to leave them. I have no reason to take them down. So I was going to call.
What's the timeline for Together Better?
Well, they're next May.
Next May.
Well, it's May.
Okay, I'm going to come and check on you.
I do have a helper. I only have one employee, very good. And he cuts and grinds. He cuts and he packs. So I'm meeting him 1 o'clock today, and we're going to work on more orders. But he does help me. So And I do put his name on the plaque. He deserves credit because he helps me sand. Like in Italian, there's an artigiani, a helper. And that helps move things along quite a bit. But you pick up ideas from other people. So 2 weeks ago, I was in New York and I was visiting a lot of people, but among them a sculptor there who does these amazing sculptures out of raw stone. So he wants all the rough edges on it, and then he does amazing portrait busts inside the raw stone. With him, there's Brandon Johnston, and I went to visit him to see how my little babies, my stones came out. And when I go to Europe, I do pick out stones specifically for him, and he does an amazing, amazing job. And so I'm thinking about this Together Better sculpture, or Better Together, whatever it's going to be. And I'm thinking, how I'm going to make these perfect women's heads, and thought, maybe I shouldn't do that. I'm not going to copy anything with him. Maybe because I'm going to have to split these stones. I was going to use the saw. Maybe I should drill them and leave the drill marks in the back of the heads or the sides of the heads. I think that might look kind of neat. Learning from this other sculptor, not copying his ideas, but just learning about the concept of some stones might look better if they're in their natural state, and then have the detail incorporated into them. So again, we're learning from each other, and your ideas evolve. And I'm not going to get started on this for a little while because I have a trip coming up, and when I start on it, I'll incorporate all these ideas, and I'm excited about it. I can feel my dendrites of my brain expanding right now.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
Yeah.
It's been really educational.
We only covered a little. I haven't told you where the best place to get gelato in Florence is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have to come back. We'll check in. We'll tease listeners with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Future episode.
Much more to discuss. There's much.
Absolutely.
All kinds of material.
I do want to mention that your website is 2Sculpt, and that's the number 2, and then the word sculpt.com. And it's really, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. And
Thank you, Matthew.
Some
great
really great
tools and-
sculpting tips. If you haven't visited that page, there's some awesome. Might have to try the DIY dust collection system out. So
there you go.
we'll discuss.
And we're trying to put more videos on of different people. If anybody has any good videos, I'm happy.
That's what the kids want. They want those videos.
The one thing is, there aren't any good books, in my opinion. And we have all this information that we learn from each other, and we need to somehow preserve that information and get it out. Like, how do you know the difference in diamond blades? And so I'd like to get a lot more information out there. And it's happening even separately on different video, on YouTubes and things. So we do need to share, and especially the new technologies that are available.
Well, we share that
Talk
mission.
to the guild about doing stuff like that through the website. Anyway, yeah, good. Yes, makes your brain turn. But
Right.
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Thank you all.
You've been listening to the Stonecarvers Guild podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and we hope that you will find us online at stonecarversguild.org. There you can find photos showing some of the things that we discussed today, additional information about our guest, and if you're so inclined, ways to get more involved with the Guild and our ongoing activities. And of course, if you've enjoyed this podcast, we hope that you will subscribe and rate us on the podcaster of your choice. 5 stars, please. We'll be back in a month with a new episode, so until then, keep your hammer up and your chisel sharp.
The views and opinions expressed in the podcast do not necessarily reflect that of the Stonecarvers Guild. This content is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening.